After the burnt offering of total surrender and the grain offering of gratitude, Leviticus now unveils a new kind of worship, one filled with joy, peace, and fellowship. It is the peace offering, also called the fellowship offering or the offering of well-being. While the first two sacrifices focused on atonement and dedication, the peace offering celebrates relationship restored, the joy of communion between God, the priest, and the worshiper. It was not offered out of guilt, but out of gratitude, not for sin, but for fellowship. The Lord said to Moses, "If your offering is a peace offering and you offer an animal from the herd, whether male or female, it must be without defect. Unlike the burnt offering, this one could come from either gender, because the peace offering symbolized wholeness, harmony, and completeness." The worshiper brought the animal to the entrance of the tent of meeting, laid a hand upon its head, and slaughtered it before the Lord. This touch symbolized identification, the sinner acknowledging that peace with God required a substitute. Then Aaron's sons sprinkled the blood against the sides of the altar, as they had done with the previous sacrifices. But here something different happened. The priest burned only the fat on the altar, the best and richest parts, the fat covering the entrails, the kidneys, and the long lobe of the liver. These were offered to God as food, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. The rest of the meat was not burned completely. Instead, it was shared. A portion went to the priest who officiated, and the remaining meat was eaten by the worshiper and his family in the presence of God. It was a sacred meal, a fellowship feast, symbolizing communion and peace between the Lord and his people. Around that meal, the worshiper rejoiced that the barrier of sin was gone and that friendship with God had been restored. This shared meal is what made the peace offering unique. It was not simply about sacrifice, but about relationship. The altar was the Lord's table, and through the offering both priest and worshiper ate as invited guests of the Most High. In this we glimpse the heart of God, not distant or harsh, but welcoming and relational, desiring communion with his children. The peace offering could also be made from a sheep or a goat. In either case, it had to be without defect, for nothing flawed could represent peace with the perfect God. If it was a lamb, its fat tail was to be removed and burned. If a goat, the same inner fat and organs were offered. 3 times in this chapter, God commanded, "All the fat is the Lord's." Fat in Scripture symbolized richness, abundance, and strength. By giving it entirely to God, the people acknowledged that the best always belongs to him. The chapter ends with a lasting ordinance. "You shall eat neither fat nor blood." The fat represented the Lord's portion, his rightful due. The blood represented life, which belongs only to God. This command reminded Israel that fellowship with God is built upon respect for what is holy. In the New Testament, the peace offering finds its ultimate fulfillment in Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace. Through his blood, peace has been made between God and man. On the cross, he became both the sacrifice and the invitation, the offering and the table. Now through him, we are invited to fellowship with God, not as strangers, but as family. Every time we partake of the Lord's Supper, we echo the peace offering, remembering the sacrifice that made peace possible and celebrating our restored relationship with God through Christ. Leviticus 3 teaches that peace is not merely the absence of conflict, but the presence of communion. True peace flows from reconciliation, and true fellowship flows from a heart of gratitude. The peace offering calls us to rejoice, to share in the abundance of God's goodness, to bring him our best, and to live in harmony with him and one another. Next comes Leviticus 4, where we learn about the sin offering, the sacrifice for unintentional sins, revealing God's mercy even in our weaknesses.